Hunt with passion. Never stop casting. Chase the dream. Welcome to Season 7 of Musky Mastery Outdoors. Brought to you by Bucher Outdoors. #1 in big game fish products. Recon Boats. Made by craftsmen. Built for fishermen. And by Great Lakes Potato Chips. Snack happy. Every chip, every bag.
Hey everybody, what's up, and welcome back to another Quick Tips Muskie segment here on the Musky Master YouTube channel. Today I have got one of my all-time favorite lures. That is the GlideRaider by Bucher Outdoors. In fact, this lure produced my biggest muskie to date, a 54-incher in Ontario. And you've seen this lure on my YouTube show, Musky Mastery, of course, and you've seen it on Bucher's show years ago. And today in this quick tip segment, I want to talk to you about why this is such an effective lure, first of all, and two, really how to work it. There's two primary different ways that I'm working this lure, and I'm going to talk to you today about those things. So why is it a good lure? Well, first of all, it's erratic. It's a zigzag subsurface walk the dog style lure. It's a glide bait, and it's a great strike triggering lure. So anytime you've got muskies that won't respond to a typical search bait like a bucktail or a top water or something that just moves in a straight line, throw the GlideRaider at it. Another really great application of this lure is that it's an excellent castback application. So when I got muskies that follow in, and they follow a lot, obviously they're muskies, throw a zigzag subsurface walk the dog style lure at them. Throw a glider at them. Now, how do you work the lure, right? A lot of folks will struggle. First of all, I'll just tell you this. You know, I'm throwing this on a 7'6" extra heavy power St. Croix. This is a Legend Elite extra heavy. I got 80-pound test JBO Beast Braid, a steel leader there, and it's the no BS system. And of course, you know, that's it. Just an 11-inch steel leader. You can find that on JBO's website. Now, again, that short rod is really, really helpful for getting those quick jerks, those quick zigzag motions, okay? And one of the things that people struggle with is they're using a lot of rod when they're working the baits. Let me show you what most folks do. Sorry, I'm not trying to call you out or anything. I'm just showing you what I see a lot of, and it's something like this, okay? I mean, this thing's, you know, flying out of the water. Look at, I mean, it's terrible. A lot of folks try to work this like a jerk bait, and it's not a jerk bait. It's a glide bait. You are not jerking on it like a jerk bait, okay? So one of the things I really try to focus on when I'm teaching people how to throw a glider, in this case the GlideRaider, is to think about this. Don't think about the rod, think about the reel, okay? The reel, in fact, will do most of the work for you. And here's just let's make it simple. It is one revolution of the handle, so one complete revolution per zig or per zag of the glider, okay? So what you might have a lot of success with here as you start to kind of practice working the GlideRaider, or in fact any glide bait, is to use the reel at first, and even most of the time, as you get better at it, it doesn't even matter, more than you actually use the rod, okay? So it's one revolution of the handle per zig or per zag of the lure, okay? So I'm gonna show that right now, okay? So cast it out, and I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause. 1, 2, pause. And you see my hands here, see how they're just, it's one revolution per glide of the lure, okay? It is not like 2 revolutions per glide or 3 revolutions per glide. It's one revolution per glide of the lure, okay? So that's the first thing we're going to talk about. Okay, second thing. Here's one of the primary applications as far as, okay, how do I work this bait, okay? And the first way I'm going to tell you I work it is by actually pushing the rod downward. By making downward motion with the rod, I'm actually going to push the GlideRaider down a little deeper, okay? So when I'm fishing a reef where I've got some space between the structure and the surface of the water, and I'm not worried about snagging, that's when I'm going to use this application. So again, that's pretty much just what I showed you, but I'll show you again here. And that is when see how my rod is moving down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause. 1, 2, 3, pause. And look at how erratic I'm making that motion. 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause, okay? So that's one of the key things you want to think about is you work this too, is pausing it. But again, when you want to drive this down a couple feet below the surface, push the, use the rod to push the lure down, okay? So that's a really important thing you want to think about. Now, let's say you're fishing a structure that's a little snaggy. Let's say you're fishing some weeds, let's say you're fishing some stumps or a rock reef that tops out at, 3 feet, and you don't want to snag it, okay? You probably don't want to be pushing the GlideRaider downward, right? So in this case, I'm going to be making lateral motion here. See, I'm using my wrist. This is parallel to the surface motion, and that will make the GlideRaider run higher in the water column, okay? It's very important to be able to utilize that application when you're fishing shallower structure, okay? So on camera, it's actually not gonna look that much different. But again, we're in the sport of musky fishing, it's the little things that make a big difference. And this subtle, more parallel to the water surface method of working this lure is gonna produce a higher running depth. So watch this, okay? And just watch the rod. It doesn't really matter what the lure is doing. See how my rod is more, see that? I'm gonna do another cast here on a better angle for you. So I'll throw one out here and you can see that, you can see me working that bait a little bit more parallel with the rod. And you still are gonna pause it to create, trigger a strike, or maybe it's in an area that, typically holds a fish. You can pause it in those areas, okay? And those are the two primary ways that I work this lure. I'll either push it down with the rod or I will work it more lateral. Now you're noticing here that I am in fact not doing a figure eight, and that's right. I actually don't figure eight the GlideRaider. Sometimes when they get a little crazy there on dead sticking, you can snag up with the leader. But one of the things that I do, and I've had some very good success with this. In fact, if you go back on some of my YouTube channels, YouTube videos on my channel, you will see this tactic. But when I get to the side of the boat with the GlideRaider, I employ what's called the dead stick. And I try to actually just work the lure in place near the boat, and I just kind of pause it and stop it. That's what's produced the best figure eight like action for me on the GlideRaider. I've tried many times to figure eight this like a normal lure, and it just doesn't really work that well. So the dead stick just looks like this, okay? So I'm gonna work this lure back to the boat, okay? You'll notice pause, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each zig or zag is one revolution of the reel handle, okay? And now, as I work it closer to the boat, okay, I'm going to utilize that more parallel. And now you see this. I actually just kind of use, about probably 10 feet of line here, and just kind of, see how I just zig and zag the lure right next to the boat, okay? And a lot of times that will trigger a strike from a following fish. Oftentimes, if I get a muskie that follows a topwater or something like that, I will, I'll throw the glider back at them, and it's just a great way to trigger strikes. So there you have it, guys. That's kind of the basic 101 version of, just the applications of the GlideRaider, how I throw it, the ways that I throw it, and most importantly, the way that I use the reel handle to trigger, to create that action. Because again, that's probably one of the most difficult things that people struggle with, is how do you create that zig and zag action? And the secret is using your reel. The reel handle creates the action. So I really hope you enjoyed this Quick Tips Muskie segment. And as always, thanks for watching.